Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. Tonight is the Friday night press box edition, and although it's technically Saturday morning, here are some game notes and unprinted content from my time reporting on Sprayberry's clinical 34-3 win over Riverwood at Hoskyn Stadium in Sandy Springs. You can read the full game story in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. The best high school football coverage in Cobb County and across the metro Atlanta area. Once again, visit Cobb Football Friday at mdjonline.com. But of course, you already knew that. What you didn't know is it was really, really hot out tonight. Like easily 85 degrees as I'm driving north to Sandy Springs, and on field temperatures where it's a turf field and the sun's shining bright as all can bright be. And it was like August. I was chatting with coaches as I do before games, and it really felt like August, which would be different if it was not in the South because it was just hot like 2 weeks ago. And the kids, the players were practicing in this kind of temperature for a couple of weeks. So it's not a drastic turnaround, a kind of thing that could easily put an old man with sniffles and congestion and things like that. But they're children, so they're okay with it. Just like she wasn't a child, but I am old enough that anybody who isn't gray haired at some point is a child to me. But the national anthem was actually sung. I go to games every Friday night. Sometimes the band plays it. Sometimes I've heard recordings every now and again, but it was sung live, and the audience was for the better for it. It was it wasn't a traditional rendition. It wasn't the standard, so to speak, rendition with the same sort of that everyone's used to with the Rockets and all the stuff like that. But the biggest thing is the close, which everybody knows the lyrics and words to, with in the land of that whole part. And there are certain notes there that if you are brave or braggadocious, you believe you can hit because you believe that your voice is like Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey's or even Marvin Gaye's, where you can hold those notes. You can keep that epic performance like it's the 91 Super Bowl and everything like that. The wise know better with that ballad. And this national anthem singer at Hoskin, I'm gonna crash all over it because I do love saying it. It was Hoskyn, so that should be Hoskyn Stadium in Sandy Springs. The national anthem singer on Friday night was wise. And as far as she did a poem about a battle over 200 years ago, justice, and held within her voice and sounded beautiful. And it was a nice start to what essentially was a very ugly game. I really wish I could say anything different. Both coaches agreed. No one was happy with it. There were over 16 penalties, a lot of just poor play, and not necessarily poor play, but it's another game where I'm a person who's watching from the press box, so I've got the view of the line of scrimmage, so I can see when an offensive line is opening seismic like holes for their running backs, and it seems to be something I go back to week on here. But Sprayberry's offensive line looked like there was an old video game where really for RBI baseball, I'm sure there was a football version of it as well, where the big players looked one size and then the medium players looked another size and then the small guys. It was a baseball game. It might have been RBI baseball where you could see the three different sides of the people, and the Sprayberry offensive line was the size A, and everybody else on the field was size B. They were huge. And it was the kind of thing where I could look up his name, but number 76, their left tackle, he, would stand out there, and if someone was coming, he pushed them in the direction he was trying to go to, or where he decided they were going to go to on that play. And usually was in towards their other lineman, so he could go and get a linebacker or something like that. The size of these holes were just massive. It's the kind of thing that would take away from the fact that 285, the highway, is literally right behind the visitors' sidelines. Like, it's their stands, a set of trees, and then the highway. And it's fascinating that infrastructure is that you don't necessarily hear and or notice the highway that's there. And it's 285. It's 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. There is at least two lanes of traffic going in either direction, and there's likely some 18 wheelers as well. So it's not as if there's no noise being made. You just don't hear it, you just don't notice it. Is it the sort of out of sight, out of mind? I don't know, but I'm up in the press box and I can see the lights. I can see the headlights flashing through as I'm looking past them and onto the field, and looking at the Sprayberry band, which came out. There was a larger contingent of fans than I've seen opposing teams bring with them as they hit the road. This was the first really well well stocked, would be a way to put it. A well bred's not the right wordings, but it was a well showing. It was a good showing for the Yellow Jackets with both their band and their fans that came out to watch a pretty dominant team. I was going to say you're coming out to see two MDJ Dynamite Dozen players. You're coming out to see running backs who are going to run free because there's nobody there. And the numbers and the size that I didn't see, maybe the center or the guards, but it didn't look to me like their offensive linemen were doing double duty. They were just serving as offensive linemen. They've got the numbers and the size that they don't have to put those guys up there on both sides and still get results like they want, because 55, I want to believe it was 55 for Sprayberry was in the backfield, either him or 45 routinely, and sort of saying hi, shaking hands with the quarterback when they could, and things like that. They were just bigger. That's the easiest way to say it. Um, the Raiders, on the other hand, will let you know about every first down. There weren't many. I want to say, if I remember off the top of my head, 8 first downs. Definitely the third quarter is a whole separate story, which I did sort of mention, but uh yeah, not many first downs for Riverwood. But when you do get a first down, you get to hear the Raiders first down sponsor. It might have been the same person or the same business entity that did sponsor it, but the number of sponsors that are only not only announced but featured on the stadium, it just it shows what high school football is. It's it is an entity on its own. It's a money-making entity for high schools, for communities, because this is Sandy Springs and Cobb County and everything like that. But you don't have to get too far outside of the metro that that high school football game is the event, is where everybody's going to be, is going to create business for those leaving that high school football game and then ending up at the adjoining restaurants, whether it's fast food or the gas station, or it might be a Cracker Barrel or something along those lines. I don't know, because I'm not doing it. I'm back here recording this podcast after I've written a story about the game I just covered. But that's the kind of entity that high school football is, in terms of the money maker that it is. Uh, but the stands at Hoskyn Stadium were filled for Riverwood tonight, because this was the International Charter School's homecoming game, which you for that sake alone, the stands were full, and a senior class had their ceremony that we're bringing out and everything like that. I'm thinking back to my homecoming, and I don't remember it. I'm old enough that I can say that, and I'm certain we had one, but I feel like it was during a different season, that it wasn't during football season. Maybe it was. I'm sure I'm wrong. If a classmate of mine hears this, they can correct me, but that's about as rare as Raiders first down, unfortunately. An unfortunate joke at their expense, but they just, it was unfortunate is the best way to describe it. But let me allow Coach Sean Cahill to.
He told them to come out and keep playing with the same effort, and if they were gonna, because for a while Spur was kind of handing us the game, but the turnovers, we're gonna do it. We got to take advantage of it. We got to make plays when the plays are there in front of us. And
And they weren't able to. That was me asking Coach Cahill about what he kind of mentioned to the team at the half, because as he mentioned it, and I mentioned in the first part of the story in the Marietta Daily Journal, Sprayberry just gave the ball up. They just fumbled, and it wasn't, at least from my vantage point, helmet on ball sort of fumbles or anything like that. The ball just came out. They just weren't playing. I'm certain that Sprayberry's got a bye week, and they're going to look at the film and they're going to pick it apart and everything like that. And despite this is a 5-1 team with a 2-1 region record, you know, but they can they can improve. They can be better than they are right now. Simple as this. Third quarter, um, there were countless bad snaps on both sides, and both teams played in the shotgun, and both teams, whether it was a shotgun or punts, just the snap, kicker, snap, quarterback exchange was not well done for either team, and it caused a lot of complications because it turned a 2nd and 4 into a 3rd and 9. Simple things like that, and it changes the game in ways that you can look at a box score and see a quarterback with a lot of negative carries, but somebody's got to take those -5 yards. And whether it was the center who messed up the exchange or the quarterback who messed up the exchange, someone's got to take those. Someone's got to take those. And especially with our simple system, it's not like, we've got team yards or anything like that, so that everybody knows exactly what's going on. But yeah, bad snap to start for Sprayberry put them at the 1 yard line. So it's 2nd and 29 from the 1 yard line. And I was mentioning their offensive line because the Yellow Jackets just barreled up, got all together, and uh, Mr. Duckett got behind that line and they just did a Philly shove. The Philly shove, basically the quarterback pushed where everybody gets the quarterback and gets behind him, and they just push as far as they can. They did that for 20 yards. And that, it's as that's a game changer. If you've got a team on their 1 yard line and they're 99 yards to the looking at the end zone, you got a chance at the safety. You got a chance at the very least to get good field position if you can hold them down. But if they're just gonna push and get 20 yards and put themselves back into a place where they can get back into whatever kind of offensive set they want to do, that's a game changer. That's something that you can't do much about. And I can't do much more about this. That's the last call from the press box after Sprayberry's 34-3 win over Riverwood. Once again, you can read the full game story in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. I'd like to thank you for stopping by the terminal. Safe travels as you continue down your highway, and have a good night.